Okay, this is take 2. Jeff Koinange live. Okay, are we on? Watu bado wanarusha mawe yuko Mombasa Road. Glad you're back. And as Brian Anyang says, we will wait even until tomorrow for JKL. I appreciate that. Apologies, viewers, for the sound mix-up. Didn't realize we were doing a Milli Vanilli on JKL, as Kanyuanganga says, but we are back on. Welcome back. Welcome to Jeff Koinange live at the Villa Rosa Kempinski, and Ramadan Kareem, and to all our Muslim brothers and sisters out there in this holy month of Ramadan. So, it's Wednesday, it's politics. Let's get right down to it. The president has spoken. Joint committee, Senate, Parliament, to discuss matters IEBC. Why did it take 4 weeks, 4 deaths? Ask yourself that question. Also, why is it people keep rioting and destroying property where they work and live and play? Does that make sense? Also, Supreme Court shenanigans. Chief Justice Willie Mutunga leaves office in 8 days' time. Two other justices could be on their way out. Is there a judicial crisis in the making? Here to break things down is a man who sees it, calls it like he knows it. Ken Njiru is founder, CEO of Uungwana, an initiative that seeks to make Kenyans feel proud to be Kenyans. Anything that's dumb and stupid that he sees out there, he calls ushenzi, thumbs down. Anything that's the opposite, people doing the right thing, is thumbs up, Uungwana. We're going to be calling the Uungwana and the ushenzis out in the next hour. Start tweeting. Ken has a new Twitter handle. Note this, at Ken Njiru Ken. That's right, because Ken Njiru is taken, so use at Ken Njiru Ken. You can also use at Uungwana Kenya. Mine is at Koinange Jeff. The hashtag Uungwana with 2 U's. Sit back, start tweeting. Ken Njiru, good to see you, brother.
Good to see you, Jeff.
Sorry about the ushenziness in the sound.
Well, somebody might have thrown some stones on your system.
Can you imagine? Speaking of throwing stones, Ken, I mean, this is so 1990s. It's so last century. People, yes, it's their constitutional right to demonstrate. But when it starts getting ugly, when they know the police, all they're waiting for is any excuse to start pounding them. And they still do it.
You know, Jeff, I think, and I've said this a couple of times, I'll say it again, that we got a new constitution, but some of us, in fact not some of us, many of us, majority of us, have still not transited in terms of our mindset.
We're still in the old constitution.
We're still in the old constitution where we think, you know, being bravado, beating your chest, throwing stones, you know, hiding behind the constitution to do things which ordinarily you shouldn't be doing. For in this instance, violence is the in thing. And I think we need to have a deep soul search as a country, and we need to have a deep conversation as a nation, because yes, we have the hardware in place, but like again I've always said, the software is wrong, and that is why we think it is okay. It is okay to go out there and beat people, rape people, steal their things, shoot people. I mean, something is wrong, and we need to talk to this space urgently.
And you know, we always blame the university students when they block University Way and Uhuru Highway when they are rioting and breaking car windows. But look at what their parents and their seniors are doing.
It is a culture, Jeff. And indeed, as a country, we need a fundamental culture change. We see it in university students. We see it in the football melees that we have every time some teams lose. They throw stones, they beat people, they chase the ref, you know, around the pitch. We are seeing it now. You're talking about IEBC, but what does IEBC have with, you know, with people's matatus or people's businesses? We see people talking about invoking the constitution, and by the way, it is their right to you know, to picket and to protest, but it is not a right to carry a stone, you know, to a protest. So that fundamentally what we are saying is that there is a culture that we need to address. And sometimes I get the feeling, and I'm sorry to say this, but sometimes I get the feeling that we have a class of politicians who did us good, in the sense that when they were called the Young Turks, they were able to fight more for the last 30 years or so, but their reflexes are still yesterday's reflexes.
Yeah.
And I think it is time people got together, and they themselves, because fundamentally, by the way, I don't believe that anybody is irredeemably lost. But I think it is time we change the way we engage.
Yeah.
It is okay to engage. It is okay to disagree. It is okay even to have differences. But it is not okay to incite, young people, and more so the youth, so to speak.
Ken, what the president did today,
Yes.
A joint committee, Senate, Parliament, to talk about matters IEBC. You think, has it taken the sails out of the wind or the air out of the balloon?
I hope it has. I hope it has, because for me, people have to talk, and the way I see it, from a personal perspective, yes, the president and say the Jubilee corner has been talking about the constitution, and yes, the court brigade has been saying we don't want to go through parliament. But my thinking is this: that now that a select committee has been formed of both the parliament and the Senate, I think people should engage. If then there are shenanigans, then we can ask ourselves, how do we deal with the shenanigans? But it always helps to work within the strictures of the law. If they do fail, then we can then ask ourselves, what can we do?
Yeah.
And then there will be a case for we, the citizens, not to go and throw stones, but to say, how can we reformat whatever needs to be reformatted for us to get what we want?
At the same time, Ken, if you were the chairman of the commission of the IEBC,
Yes.
if you were Ahmed Itzak Hassan,
Yes.
why stay on? Why hang on?
Jeff, I think, and we saw another very interesting case. You remember Mzee Kiplagat, who was being thrown out of
Yes.
a commission again. Then it was the civil society trying to throw him out.
Right.
And he refused to go. And he said, if I go in these circumstances,
Yeah.
then what these people are saying about me becomes the truth. you
Correct.
see? And I think there was a reason why we created commissions like this and gave them a tenure, so that you just can't come and pluck them off. It is bad manners every time to hound people out of office. I think the due process should take its course. And you know what, by the way, you cannot, under this constitution, assuming, even for instance, the select committee says chase out those guys. If Itzak Ahmed said we are not going under the constitution,
Right.
they will cause havoc for us.
He can stay.
He can stay because he has tenure. And then further, I think we need to interrogate these whole questions a bit more broadly. I know the president said that the select committee was to purposely discuss IEBC.
Right.
But I wish, and this is what I think we should do as a country, we need to expand this conversation. Yes, IEBC, and not just the commissioners, because first of all, not all commissioners have sins implicated or have fingers pointing at them. Some of them are innocent. But assuming that even we remove all of them, what is it that we need to do to this whole structure for it to be able to deliver elections? Because a structure is not just the leadership, it's the whole structure right down. Processes, what type of processes do we need? I would even like a conversation, by the way, as on the question of how we nominate candidates, so that then the IEBC calls an election on which they are either elected or not elected.
This chairman was nominated by the former prime minister, by the way, remember?
Yeah, he was nominated by
he gave him his green light, he gave him the thumbs up, he said, this is my man. In fact, this is why Miguna was fired.
Now,
over Itzak Hassan.
You cannot understand why the turnaround. And for me, I'm really getting concerned because every 5 years we throw out the Electoral Commission. Every 5 years we throw out the Electoral Commission, which means the institutional memory of the institution does not grow. Is it that we recruit badly? Or is it that there are political interests which are always trying to pull things on their side, and when they don't get it, then they say these guys must go? Sometimes, by the way, it sounds to me like it's children throwing tantrums, and we keep rewarding them. You know how you have a young boy like your son?
Yes.
Every time he throws a tantrum, you give him what you want.
Yeah.
And if that continues happening, then what you basically continue doing is something in political science called appeasement. And we know what appeasement does. Appeasement systematically destroys the very staircases that politicians, by the way, use to get up there. When they get up there, because then they are used to being, being given and treated the way they want, then they just kick off the stairs. This is what the Hitlers did. I think as a citizenry, we need to be more serious with what we are doing. I would want, like I was saying, a conversation on the electoral process. We do know in this country, people buy seats. They buy nominations. We do know in this country, nomination processes are violent. For instance, much as CORD is saying, people were killed and it is wrong for people to be killed, every time CORD has an election, whether it's a nomination or whatever it is, people die.
Yeah.
And if people are dying during nominations, it is as wrong as people dying being shot, during the protest. Both deaths are the same. But we don't want to talk about these deaths. We want to talk about these deaths. And so, in my mind, I'm saying, it is time to address the software. For so long we've talked about the hardware, but the software is wrong. The way we talk, the way we behave. I was watching, for instance, Raila Odinga. Yes, it was their right to have, their rally on Madaraka Day, despite the reservations that, people, we may have in terms of having rival rallies on a day like that. Because I think a day like that should be a day that unites people. But I was a bit concerned when I saw him inciting those young people. And I said, wait a minute, this man is going, is it 75?
Yeah.
He's an elder. And elders in African tradition technically are meant to be working for the peace. They're meant to be telling us young guys, don't throw that stone. In fact, don't even pick up a stone, all right? And let me put it this way. If you take the pains to read history, you'll find that there were some, ripe old people like Gandhi who never condoned violence, but he brought about change. He brought about change. In fact, every time, like there was a time, the Hindus and the Muslims started fighting, he even fasted. He almost died.
That's right.
Because he was not going to condone violence. And so I would like to hear all leaders across the board saying, do not carry out any violent acts. But it seems like there's some silent endorsement, because the more violence there is, the more cannon, the more gunpowder there is in the cannon. So when it goes boom, everybody gets scared.
Yeah.
Everybody gets scared.
And why Kisumu more than any other place? Look what they did to Maini supermarket.
Culture. The culture. Jeff, I'm telling you, it has been a riotous culture.
And they're going shopping the next day there, by the way. They're going to be shopping at the same place.
The sad part of it is, if for instance, this was to continue, what then people would do is basically pack up from Kisumu and say, we cannot invest there, which again hurts the local economy. So we need to be careful about how we do what we do. And I think there are ways of pushing. Yes, there are issues. And even if whatever issues you may have, we must find a way of airing them and talking about them and discussing and agreeing or agreeing to disagree. Because that is what democracy is all about.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Look, the president also shifted his stand a little. You were at the prayer meeting, prayer breakfast last week.
Yeah.
And he says, you know what, IEBC, we'll deal with it.
Yes. No, I don't think he shifted his position. He said we'll deal with it. And I'm happy he has set up the select committee. I think the president has been very consistent saying it must pass through parliament. Now you're talking about the Senate and the National Assembly basically getting together to start discussing this thing. And I hope that all parties will get behind it. Let us see the process, going through.
What if CORD refuses? What if they tell their MPs and also their senators, don't be part of this?
I think, by the way, CORD is under immense pressure. I also saw in the media, the envoys are telling them, you must, not cause violence. We are seeing today Matatu guys going to take, that shell outside, Raila's offices.
Yeah.
We are seeing the business community saying this cannot continue, because if we are losing 80 million every other day, that's in Nairobi only.
That's a lot of money.
And then we add another 80 million on Thursday. And then possibly if they don't get what they want, I had Mudama saying they'll do it a whole week.
Right.
I think that is utter nonsense.
It's ludicrous.
I think there is a way of resolving this issue without resorting to violence.
Yeah.
And I think we need to up our state of consciousness, because that is what I call now Uungwana civility.
Because there's too much Ushenziness.
Yes.
Okay. Last night, you watched Deputy President William Ruto with my friend Hussein Mohammed.
Yeah.
You watched that interview?
Yes, I did watch it.
Yeah, good interview.
Well, good interview,
Yeah,
yes.
yeah. He kept referring to Hussein as my friend, so
yes.
I'll tell you my friend.
Yeah.
He said there'll be no dialogue. He said there'll be no dialogue, my friend.
I think there must be dialogue. I think there must be dialogue.
Is he playing hard? Are they playing good cop, bad cop?
I think what they are basically saying is that they are not backing us, a process where this dialogue is taken out of the constitutional structures. And I've had discussions, arguments that on one side saying the IPPG went that way, on the other side they are saying yes, the IPPG went that way, but then we didn't have the constitution. And both sides are basically right. But for me, I think that is neither here nor there. I think Kenyans have to learn to start talking amongst themselves. And I think leaders have to stop upping, or rather, putting logs into this fire perpetually, to the extent that this country looks like it's burning.
But there's so much stubbornness in all this, Ken. There's so many egos at play here. So with one side there's one thing, the other side turns around and says the opposite thing. So there's no dialogue, there's no headway.
I don't think, by the way, and for me, Jeff, I'm not scared. I don't think this country will burn. I think this is just posturing. And I think everybody knows that the stakes are very high. You try and ban this country, you'll go to The Hague. It's as simple as that, right? But I think what has happened to this country is not unique. I mean, look at America. Look at Donald Trump. He is throwing everything at everybody.
Even the kitchen sink.
He calls Barney, crazy Barney.
And Hillary,
all sorts of things. And it continues. I mean, there's bantering. We've seen some unfortunate incidences, by the way, in some Donald Trump's rallies where some people want to cause chaos. But it's basically contained. So it is not unique. You go to the UK. The Labour Party is constantly berating the Conservative Party. Cameron is lying. No, he's not lying. That is politics. But there's a certain minimum standard we must observe. You cannot tell your followers to carry stones. No, if Cameron does that, by the way, he will have to resign the next day.
As many hooligans as there are in the UK.
Yes, and they are hooligans. By the way, they are also hooligans. From the football world, just like from our football world here.
Correct.
But they are never mobilized for those type of purposes. I mean, protests are being held every other day across the world. You open the TV, you can see protests. In some areas, like even France, some of the things that are happening here, you can see them happening in France. The waters and the tear gas, but of course, you don't see, deaths, so to speak. So it is not unique. But I think what the difference between some of those countries is that they know their limits. It is like here we are okay to sacrifice, keep sending young people there, they can die. And then when they die, we go to their funerals to make hay out of it. No. I think that is not acceptable.
That's wrong.
It's not acceptable.
Before we go to break, Ken, let's just clarify for our viewers that, the former Prime Minister did not actually say carry stones. But no. People, I said it's a culture.
Yes. Maybe, I don't know who says carry stones.
Right.
But every time, there's some people are going to the streets, you see stones. And obviously they carried stones because if you look at Uhuru Highway, there are no piles of stones you can pick, right? So somebody came carrying stones. Why are you carrying stones? Why are you carrying stones? Again, whereas of course the police must restrain themselves. Sometimes I imagine, guys throwing stones at you and what you have is a gun. What do?
You shoot.
Do you start telling them, please don't stone me?
And they stone.
So the tendency is if you're hit with a stone on your head, maybe the guy goes cuckoos and just fires at random. So I think there needs to be restraint from the protesters and there needs to be restraint from the police.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Okay, let's take a break, come back.
Yeah.
By the way, if stone throwing was an Olympic sport, do you think we'd be up there?
I think we'd be winning.
With Waitito and also?
Yeah. And by the way, I've seen, in some instances, not just stones, people even have slings.
I saw.
And that is as bad as a bullet. It kills.
That thing goes.
It kills.
Wow.
Yeah.
When we come back, let's switch gears. Let's talk about the Supreme Court.
Yeah.
Dr. Willie's on his way out. By the way, did you hear what the DP said about him yesterday?
What did you say? I didn't hear that. I didn't hear that bit.
He says, we have a Chief Justice who wears an earring. My son is a lawyer.
Yeah.
I can't respect that. Can you imagine?
Well, I guess that's the DP's views. It's allowed.
Yeah.
I mean,
I used to wear an earring, by the way.
I remember I used to wear it.
Yeah.
Let me tell you something we need to learn in this country.
Yeah.
We need to appreciate that people have different views. It is okay for the DP to say, I don't like it.
Correct. But he's not going to throw stones.
You don't throw stones about it.
No.
It is okay for somebody to say, I like it. I wouldn't wear an earring.
Yeah, are you
And-
sure?
Yeah, I would. I've never. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, Nyashinsky wears two. You know Nyashinsky?
Who's Nyashinsky?
Oh, he's a great singer.
Oh, he's a singer.
Yeah, a musician.
Well,
he wears two.
I'm surprised. There should be 4.
Oh, but Tim study. How does that song go? Have you heard this song? Maina Kagani plays it every morning.
Which song is that?
Ferrari.
Jeff singing is never been your skill.
Man, come on, guys, help me.
It's never been your skill.
We're going to take a break right here.
Yeah.
Njiru doesn't know who Nyashinsky is. I'm going to play it for you on YouTube right now.
Before I leave.
YouTube
yeah,
it.
you play it.
Yeah, it's called Now You Know.
Now you
Now
I know.
you know.
Sasa najua.
You shenzi.
Yeah.
You shenzi. Njiru on the bench. Just keep tweeting at Njiru Ken, or you can tweet at Uungwana Kenya. Mine is at Koinange Jeff. The hashtag Uungwana with 2 U's. We'll talk about issues, stories making headlines the last few days. Coming up, the judiciary, Dr. Willie and his earring are out. Who else? Somebody say, oh my. Jeff Koinange live at the Villa Rosa Kempinski takes a break. We'll be back in a moment.